Hello, my name is Duane Knecht, and today I'm here with Duane Knecht, the men's and women's head diving coach. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
So, the first thing I want to ask you is, what made you first get into diving?
Actually, when I was growing up, I had a pool pass at the Riley Pool, and we used to go there a lot during the summer. And one of the high school divers, or one of the high school divers was a lifeguard, so he did a lot of diving during the breaks, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought, well, when I get old enough, when I hit sixth grade, I joined the junior high diving team.
What made you want to start coaching diving, and why did you come back to Greenfield-Central High School?
Well, after college, I came back to Greenfield I had a job and I was living back in Greenfield. And I really didn't I didn't seek after college to look for a diving coach position. So a few years after that, 5 or 6 years after I graduated from college, my high school coach here at Greenfield, Kathy Dowling, was retiring, and so she had the athletic department reach out to me and asked if I would have any interest in coaching the team. And so I started that back in 2000-2001 season.
So currently being the longest tenured coach at Greenfield-Central at 26 seasons, what has kept you wanting to come back?
You get to form a bond with some of the divers, and a diver comes in as a freshman, and you start to see how much they improve, and it makes you want to stick around for the next 3 years. And then you've got another young ones coming in after that, and it just kind of builds on itself. So you kind of want to see these kids become successful divers. So it's kind of fun to watch that whole process.
So being a former diver and now a coach, what or who has inspired you?
I probably got some inspiration from my college coach. He was, close to my age, 8 years older than I was, and he's still coaching today. He eventually became the Olympic diving coach for the Beijing Olympics. He was the head diving coach for USA, and so he's always been a good contact for me. I've kept in touch with him over the years, and if I've got questions like how to do a particular dive, he's real good at sending me videos or just taking the phone call and walking me through some of that.
So during a practice or a meet, how do you normally get the full potential out of all your divers?
A lot of times you kind of look at what their strengths are. You might have somebody that's a good twister, and so you might end up putting a few more dives like that where they're actually doing somersaults and twists in their list. They may be good at doing back somersaults, so you might focus on more back dives, for that particular diver. So you kind of have to look at each diver individually to see what some of their strengths are, and you kind of roll with that.
So I heard you have a lot of your girls on your team. How have you been able to build them up to success?
Well, I've got 3 sophomores this year that all came in brand new this year, and they either had some cheerleading, tumbling experience, or they were former gymnasts, and so they've had some somersaulting experience, and so it was kind of one of those things where, as a group, when one learns a dive, it's like that next person wants to learn it as well. So they've kind of fed off each other. So it's been kind of a fun process with those 3, that watching them learning new dives in 1 week, and then the next person's learning it. So that's been a fun way to coach with them.
So I know your sectional meet is coming up. So what are your goals for the boys and girls?
Okay. Well, girls is first. That's going to be the first Saturday of February. Probably a goal for us at the sectional meet. Your goal's top 4 divers move on to the regional meet, and I'd love, of course, to see all 3. We can have 3 divers compete in that meet. Of course, we'd love to have 3 of them in that meet, but to be realistic, I think we have a good shot at maybe 2 of them. And maybe at least that 3rd diver making the top 8, which is making the podium, and that helps on the scoring side for the team points. The higher up they place, obviously, the more points they score for the team. So I'd like to see all of them make top 8, maybe 2 of them move on to the regional meet. On the boys' side, Gabe Hall's our returning sectional champion, so I'd obviously like to see him return as a first place for him. I got 2 other boys that I'd like to see make top 8 and potentially make maybe top 6.
So with Gabe Hall as your only senior on the team, what are the benefits of having an experienced diver like him?
When you have somebody experienced like that, it's nice to use Gabe as like a demonstration. Hey Gabe, jump up there and show them a front 1.5 pike. And a lot of them, they don't know. If they're new to the sport, they don't know what some particular dives are. And so a lot of times I'll use him for his demonstration purposes. A lot of time if I'm talking with somebody else and he's watching while he's practicing and he's giving pointers out to some of the divers if I didn't see the dive while they, during that practice, that dive that they just did. So he's helpful, just another set of eyes. And he's been around the sport so long, he's good at, giving feedback on dives.
So besides coaching the divers, I've also heard they also judge the divers like during meets. How does that work?
Okay. The visiting school, if it's just a dual meet, you have a visiting school coach, their diving coach, myself, and then the official in the meet that's officiating the entire meet. We use those 3 as judges, so we get to judge our own divers as well as their divers. And then you just add scores together, divide them into like the degree of difficulty of whatever the diver did. And some of those bigger meets like sectionals and conference, we use 7 judges at those meets, and they would drop the 2 high scores and the 2 low scores. And all the coaches usually get to participate in the judging as well in those type of meets. So when you get to state, they finally use officials at that point, but even at the regional level, coaches get to judge as well. So
say if someone fails a dive, what do you do to keep them motivated and pushing?
Well, sometimes it's hard because I'm on the judges panel. I don't get to talk to that diver right away. But usually if it's a dual meet, we do 6 dives and the diving then is over. But at the bigger meets, we'll have a break after the first 5 dives. That'd be round 1, and there's 3 rounds. So if it happens, say in the first round, I'll make my way over to the diver when we have a short break, and I just tell them, hey, you got 6 more dives in the meet. You can't. What's happened. You just got to stay positive, and at that point, if you're in the 9th, 10th place, okay, let's shoot for 8th place or 7th place. Just, try to do your best, the rest of the meet at that point.
So what have been I know you've been coaching for a long time, so what has been a few of your standout moments?
Well, all my divers right now have the school records, so those were always big meets when those divers got those records. That was always a lot of fun. And then probably, both of them, both Ben Rader, he was our boys record holder. He placed 9th at state his senior year, and that was pretty exciting to make the finals and get 9th place. Cheyenne Milne is the girls record holder, and she, I think, ended up 13th as her best place at state. And so that's always fun to have divers that actually make the finals.
What are some of the biggest challenges your divers have had during the season?
Probably the biggest challenge for any divers any season is just learning new dives. It can be pretty scary to jump up on the board and jump off the board and flip backwards towards the board. So it's really trying to get divers over the fear of trying new things. That's pretty unusual for a sport where you're actually jumping off the board and just start doing multiple somersaults and trying to land either straight on your feet or on your hands. So getting over the fear of diving, and we utilize our trampoline. We have a spotting belt over it. We have a spotting belt over the board where when they're learning new dives, I can either, put them in a harness and practice that somersaulting. We do a lot of work on the trampoline, so they might do 51 and a halves off the trampoline before I ever have them try it on the board. So that helps build some confidence.
The last thing I want to ask you, if you had to get up on the board and do a dive, what would dive do you think you could still do?
That's a good question. I haven't been on the board probably in 5 years, but I could probably, and at that time I still did this dive, but it was a front 1.5 with a full twist. So it's not an easy dive, but it's a neat dive because you're actually somersaulting and twisting at the same time. So it may not be pretty, but I think I could probably get one off.
All right, so that's going to be all the time we have. So I'd like to thank you for talking with us, and I'd like to thank you all for watching.